Okay, hello. I've now got a couple of gigs under the belt as Gary Black, playing keyboard, singing and entertaining. So in this video, I'll give you a gig report, tell you a little bit about how my equipment performed, the PA situation and what we're going to be doing going ahead. So both of these gigs were at care homes, or nursing homes, I suppose you can say, for mostly elderly people and some of their family members as well, and the staff, of course, and also people that were just a little bit mentally challenged, perhaps, I suppose is one way to say it. So yeah, not doing this for money. I just wanted to do something nice for others without expecting anything back in return. But of course it was a good, valuable experience for me. I've never ever sung in front of an audience before. So for the first gig, I showed up with all of my gear. Nobody was expecting me. I was hunting around for some members of the staff there. Nobody knew I was coming. The residents didn't know I was coming, so nothing was planned or arranged. They weren't told about it, and that was a bit disappointing, a bit of an anticlimax really. I had gone to a lot of effort to be there with all the gear, of course, and no one was expecting me. Anyway, the staff that I met were super nice, and they did go around to all of the residents, knocking on their doors, trying to get some people to come and actually listen to me. So as I was setting up in the communal area, you know, there was a trickle of people coming in to check out what was going on. I guess in total about 12 people showed up during my performance. A few of them fell asleep, and many of the others I couldn't really tell if they were asleep or not. Not wanting to sound cruel, but that's just the way it was. And a big part of my act was interacting with the audience in between the songs. I was doing everything in Swedish, of course. These were elderly Swedish people for the most part, so trying to interact and engage with them, but it was very difficult. I was not getting any response from them at all on the whole. Although later on in the set, I did notice a couple of people that were really getting into it, so I was able to focus more on those, and that helped me. But because of that, I felt rather tense. It was just awkward, stiff atmosphere. Probably partly due to my fault as well. You know, I'm the guy there that has to run the show, and I'm not very experienced, I'll be the first to admit, but the atmosphere was just stiff and awkward, and that made me feel tense. That affected my singing, and I could hear I was singing pretty bad. All the technique was out the window just because I was feeling a bit stressed. And then when you notice you're not singing very well, that tenses you up even more, and it just sounded even worse. But a good learning experience anyway, if nothing else. And I got through it. I just pushed through. I mean, you just have to keep going. So the show must go on. By the end of the set, it was sounding a lot better. And my playing on the keyboards was on point. No problem with that. It was just the singing, because I was feeling tense and not very relaxed. It was not very good. And actually, at times during my set, which was 1 hour long, I kind of was thinking to myself, I just wish I wasn't here. I'd rather be anywhere else, or could the ground just open up and swallow me up? There were some funny moments though. I was trying to explain how Van Morrison played saxophone, and I was trying to find what I thought was the right button for a saxophone, but we were getting guitars, choirs, harpsichord, all sorts of strange things that were not saxophones, and that got a laugh from the audience. It's the unexpected comedy moments like that you just can't plan, but people liked it. Another thing that was unexpected, there was a lady, a sweet old lady, really close to me. Yeah, I didn't explain the room, but it's fairly medium-sized room, I suppose, where people would interact with each other. The communal area, also eat, like 12 people in there, but they were very close. They were about the same distance as where the camera is, in a ring around me. So a very intimate setting, which also made me feel a little bit tense. It's hard to relax when people are that close to you. But anyway, one dear lady sitting over on the left that was really into it. I could see her tapping her foot, and I mentioned that in the interval between the songs as well. But anyway, she happened to be a piano player, because I was asking if anybody plays the keyboard, as I was doing a demonstration of how the keyboard works, which people find really interesting. She was a piano player. Her piano, she brought it with her to the home. There was also an organ behind me as well. But the piano was over there. I asked if she'd like to play something for us on my keyboard or on the piano, but she said she couldn't play anymore. I asked if I could play on the piano, and she said yes. So in the middle of the set, I left the PSR keyboard, went over to her piano, which was pretty badly tuned, but it was playable. And I did a bit of Scott Joplin, the Entertainer, you know. And the audience loved that spontaneous moment where I just did something completely unplanned. But that one went down probably better than anything else during the evening. And I wasn't even singing on that song, so go figure. I was constantly asking people in the intervals or in between the songs if the volume level was okay, if they'd like to have a short break, or if I should carry on. They wanted me to carry on. By the time I was getting towards the end of the set, I said, would you like me to play one more song, two more songs, or three more songs, just to get a gauge of how well it was going down? This sweet old lady said that she'd like me to do two more songs, a compromise. So that's what I did. I actually skipped off Achy Breaky Heart from the set and went straight to the Eric Clapton number at the end. But yeah, a couple of people were into it. I was getting a little bit of applause after each song. That's always awkward, right? You playing for such a small audience, and there's those awkward moments when people aren't applauding, but eventually someone does. Maybe one of the staff members, and then people do. Not that I'm expecting it, but when with just such a small crowd, you need something to mark the end of the song. Anyway, I finished afterwards. A couple of people did come up to me and say how well I sang. Wow, what a good singer I was, which was amazing because I really wasn't on that gig. So yeah, it was nice to get some compliments. People were coming up, curious about me. So yeah, there was some nice interaction at the end, and then everybody just went back to their rooms. The second gig was a completely different situation. The staff or the manager there had put up posters announcing when I was coming, where I would be playing. I actually arrived just a few minutes before I was supposed to start, which was awkward because the room where I was performing was full. It was packed with people, a huge ring around me. It was a bigger room than where I was last time. But people were expectant. There was an excited audience waiting for me to set up, so I had to connect everything together in front of them as they were waiting. There was probably, I want to say, 30 people there perhaps, including the staff, the residents, and yeah, some of their family members were there as well to listen, which was really nice. So a bit of a mixed audience. So I got to chat with them casually as I was setting everything up, which was nice. And for this gig, which by the way, I had been looking forward to, even though I didn't really enjoy the first gig. Once it was over, I was looking forward to doing it again because there's something fun about it, and I was looking forward to the challenge and seeing if I could do a better job. The first one is always the hardest, right? This time, right from the very beginning, felt completely relaxed, at ease. The audience seemed much more enthusiastic and engaged and interested in what I was doing because they knew I was coming. From the get-go, my singing sounded pretty solid. You know, I'm not going to be a perfect singer, or a great singer even, I know that. But it was adequate. And as I was performing, it's very important for me to have good eye contact with the audience. That's why it was so hard in the first gig, where I couldn't tell if people were even awake or not. But in the second gig, there's a huge ring of people. It was a massive, massive hall where I was playing. Big ring of people. Quite a distance away from me, though nobody was particularly close. But as I'm performing, it was great to get eye contact with them, and I could see people were really digging it and enjoying it. I'm singing away, and I can see people loving it, which is, wow, what a feeling. People were not exactly clapping their hands, but just maybe tapping their hand on their feet, or tapping their foot, tapping their hand on their knee, tapping their feet, smiling, nodding their heads, just really enjoying it. And that was a great feeling. I was there singing and people were loving it. Wow. Remember, this is a project I started just 3 months ago or something, I decided I was going to learn a few songs on my Arranger keyboard, learn how to sing, get out there, and I've done it. And as I was doing this performance, I felt a lot of satisfaction and pride in what I'd accomplished. For this one, much nicer interaction. I was chit-chatting with the audience on the microphone there in between the songs, telling them about my background, where I come from, why I'm doing this. I told them the secret that I'd never done this before, that kind of thing. Also explaining how the keyboard works by doing a little demonstration of how the styles work and the drums and stuff. And at this time, the keyboard started playing up. I had some technical issues with my SX920. You know, I've got those two knobs where I can dial back the drums, make the accompaniment a little bit less busy. And I do that a lot in real time, turn those knobs. And the keyboard, when I did that, was locking up and stuttering. The music would go awful, awful. And as I was demonstrating this feature for them, it started to do that. And then in my performances afterwards, it would continue to do that as well. I guess I probably needed to restart the keyboard because something had got screwed up with it. It could have been a big issue, but you know, I made it into a joke. We had a bit of fun about it. Every time the keyboard screwed up, I made a joke about it on the microphone and people enjoyed that as well. Again, an example of how these spontaneous moments can really help you connect with the audience. It makes you come across as authentic, I think. So yeah, that happened several times during the performance. The keyboard never crashed, but it felt like it was going to do it any moment. So pretty bad. Pretty bad, actually. Yeah, after the set, I played all 10 songs, actually, in Achy Breaky Heart, which is the one that I skipped on the first gig. I saw got a really good response. People were really enjoying that one. Unfortunately, nobody got up to dance or anything. I was hoping a little bit that would happen because it relieves the pressure from me. Because everybody in this ring, 30, maybe even more actually, people just all their focus on me. Everybody looking at me, which was quite exhilarating actually. At the end of the gig, I went round into the big semicircle where everybody was seated and just shook hands with the people that wanted to shake my hand or high five or stuff, and just said hi to everybody and thanked them for letting me in, allowing me into their home so that I could play for them. And yeah, really good vibes from that gig. So that was great. Okay, for my equipment, I had a keyboard stand that I thought was in good shape. I hadn't used it for 10 years. It's like an X stand, but when I got it out from the garage, from the back of the boxes where it was being stored, I realized it wasn't complete, so I had to use a ratchet stand to hold it together. So I need to buy a new keyboard stand. I have several, but they're all quite bulky. I'd like to get a lightweight X stand. So I'll be buying one of those, perhaps in the Black Friday sales. Also, I realized a keyboard bench. You can get some foldable keyboard benches, would be a good idea. I was sitting on just normal table chairs, and the height of the keyboard was completely wrong and just wasn't very ergonomic. And that's important, to be seated comfortably in the same position as you're used to when you're singing. Playing as well, but especially when you're singing. The first gig, I found myself playing a little bit like this, and the microphone, well, like this. The microphone was far too low, so I was also hunched over the microphone. Getting all that stuff set up right and consistent is really important. So I'm going to get a better microphone stand, a keyboard stand, and a like foldable keyboard padded bench. So every time I do a gig, everything will be the same. For the PA, I was just using the built-in speakers actually, even though it was a huge hall and I was playing for 30 people. The volume was fine. I was asking them all the time, is the volume okay? I can go a little bit louder if you want, or softer, but people thought it was lagom, which is the Swedish word for good, good enough. And I was using a subwoofer, so the PSR loudspeakers were doing most of the work. And it was filling up the room with sound, I think. Hard for me to judge, but people seem to be enjoying it. The PSR speakers were filling up the room, even though they're pointed at me, but they were great monitors, so I could really hear what I was singing. And the system was connected to a small Yamaha subwoofer with an 8-inch woofer that was just filling out the low end. And that was fine for these venues, absolutely perfect. And I had the volume on about 75%, so I had a bit of room to crank it even higher if I wanted to. But yeah, we'll talk about my plans for the PA in just a minute. As for the setup, super simple. Here's a picture here of what we have going on in the car. Just the keyboard in a bag, keyboard stand, microphone stand in a bag, subwoofer, and a few cables. Very, very easy load in and out, and my son did help me. As I mentioned earlier, he offered to help me as a roadie, so he drove me there, helped me load in and out. He was very curious and he found it fun to meet some of the guests and see what it was like in these homes as well. So yeah, that was really great. Very, very quick setup. Just took a few minutes to connect everything and I was ready to go, which was an advantage when I was performing for this second gig because everybody was there waiting for me to get started. My plans for the PA then, well, I would like to get something that projects the sound more towards the audience instead of the speakers of the keyboard that are projecting to me. So I'm going to replace that subwoofer with a single active powered PA speaker. And that should fill in the low end, just like my subwoofer is doing, but also I can point it to the audience and that will project my vocals and the sound of the keyboard towards them. I think it'll be enough with just one speaker for now. Stereo would be great as well, but I just want to, it's just overkill for these small venues. The keyboard speakers are in stereo. I just need something to fill out the sound and project it towards the audience. So I'll just get a single active PA speaker. I did send a number of emails, inquiries from my Woody Piano Shack address to several PA manufacturers asking if they'd be willing to give me a sponsorship for this or a discount, explaining what I'm doing and saying that I could do a review on the channel. People are very interested in PA systems for keyboards. I've noticed that in the past. Not a single brand even bothered to reply. So very disappointing. You know, I don't want to come across as arrogant, but the least they could do is send a polite no as a reply instead of just leaving me hanging. Myself, personally, I get several inquiries from brands every week asking if I want to collaborate with them. And even if I don't want to do it, I'll at least send them a polite response saying, no, I'm not interested, and explain why. And that's what I would expect from a professional company as well. But nope, they didn't even bother to reply. And that's a mistake because I'm also a consumer, I'm a customer. I can tell you for sure, I won't be buying any of their systems. Definitely won't be showing them or ever mentioning them on the channel, but no, I won't even be buying from them. So if they're rude to me, I won't be a customer of theirs. And I don't want to come across as being arrogant. This is just a question of common courtesy and politeness. And yeah. For future plans then, I do have one more gig booked in January at the largest care home, the most modern one. It's been newly built. It's called Ljus Källan here in Ystad. They've got loads of residents. Those people, or the managers there, were a bit skeptical about booking me. So anyway, eventually they came around to the idea. So I'll be playing there in January, which I'm really looking forward to. But this experience has showed me that I can do this. I can do this. I can entertain an audience, and these are perhaps not the most easiest audience to entertain either. Perhaps. So yeah, this has given me a taste to do this slightly more. I'll be investing in some equipment, and I've also been reaching out to some coffee shops, bars, restaurants, letting them know that I'm available to play for special occasions or special events. So we'll see where that leads. I haven't really gone for it all that wholeheartedly, but just letting people know that I'm available. So we'll see what happens there. As for the plans for the channel, I will be learning 10 more new songs, and I'll probably live stream that process over on the Gary Black Music channel. That's all. And before I go, thank you so much for all of your support, because without your encouragement, motivation and advice, you know, I'm not sure I would have done this. I'm not sure I would have actually had the confidence to do it, but you've all played a big part in this. And yeah, coming up, when we start doing some gigs that are more in public spaces, right? This was somebody's residential home, really. If we do some gigs in public spaces, I'll be sure to capture the whole performance and share it with you on the channel. The only drawback is, well, no, it depends what venues I do, but all of the banter in between the songs is in Swedish. But I have been talking to some English pubs, English-style restaurants, and if I perform there, I can do everything in English. And then, yeah, I'll even live stream the whole gig for you so you can see in real life what I'm doing. So yeah, thanks very much for your support. Thanks to everybody that's subscribed to this channel. It means a lot to me. If you haven't subscribed, do it now. Thanks in advance. I'll see you next time. Cheerio.